welcome to Sarah's Stampin' Retreat. Today we're going to be making 5 cards using this Whimsy Wonder suite. You may have seen the video that I did a few weeks ago. I'll link to it in the description below because there's another one that I created. There's another 5 cards with this, but this is 5 different cards today. So all in all, I'll be showing you 10 different cards you can make. And you can see there's also some really nice examples in the catalogue itself. So the idea is to give you a lot of different inspiration of how to use this because I think it's a really nice set. So we've got this whimsical tree stamp set, so you've got a few different trees, you've got like these kind of decorations to go on the tree, you've got the baubles, the sentiments, holly and joy. Then the die set's quite a big die set, you get a few different trees, so you can see you get several sizes of trees plus this one and this one decorate 2 of the trees. We've got these ones with the long kind of stems and you can see they've been used here and here, so they look quite elegant on the cards. And then the other thing that I really like with this set, this obviously cuts out the baubles and this the holly. But the other thing I really like is that you get baubles and stars, but it cuts out 5 stars and 8 baubles at a time, so you've got enough to decorate your trees with just one pass through the machine. And then we've got the papers, so we've got this gorgeous, it's got this kind of like iridescent foiling on, with this on the back. You get 2 each of these pieces of paper, and then we've got these baubles with this on the back. We've got the holly with that on the back. We've got the presents with the foiling on the bows with that on the back. We've got the trees with that on the back. And then we've got the foiled snowflakes with that on the back. So then for our first card, I've got 5-inch square basic white card blank, and then this piece of polished pink card measures 4.5 inches square, and this piece of basic white measures 4.25 inches square. So we're going to use this and we're just going to do some simple stamping on this. So I'm going to take my Evening Evergreen ink and then I want to stamp my tree 9 times. Then I've just got a scrap of polished pink and I'm just going to heat emboss the joy on there in white. So I'm just going to take my Versamark ink, I'm going to stamp the joy on here. I'm going to pour on my embossing powder. And then I'm going to grab my heat tool, put it on setting 2 and just melt the embossing powder. So then I'm just going to create a flag in the end of this. So I'm just going to cut up the middle like that. And then I'm going to create flags. Then that will sit over there like that. So let's layer all the pieces together. So then I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals behind this. I'm going to put that on there. And these are pieces I've cut out of polished pink cardstock using this die here. I'm just going to glue those onto a few of our trees. And then I've got some of the 2021 to 23 in colour jewels, so I'm going to use the polished pink ones out of this. And I'm just going to use a few on each of the other trees. Then that's our first card completed. So for this next card, I've got an A6 Misty Moonlight card blank. So that measures 8¼ by 5 7/8 inches. And this piece of basic white cardstock is 1/4 of an inch smaller than the card front. So then I'm just going to do some background blending on this one. So I'm going to start with my lightest colour, which is this barley blue. And I've got my blending brushes and I'm just rubbing on that to pick up some colour, and then I'm just going to start just making circular motions and just blending this up from the bottom of my piece of paper. I'm going to blend this about halfway up. So I'm going from lightest to darkest so I can use the same brush each time, because I've only got a lighter colour on my brush, so it's not going to ruin the next ink pad. Then I've got my Pacific Point, and I'm just going to blend some of that on here. You see, I'm just going over the balmy blue slightly, just to kind of blend that a bit. And I'm going to take this right the way up to the top. And you could spend a while going over. The more that you go over, the smoother this colour will become. But I'm wanting this to be like a night sky, so obviously the night sky isn't flat colour, so I'm happy for it to be like that. It kind of looks a bit like cloudy, I think, then. And then I'm just taking a bit of Misty Moonlight and I'm just going to blend it right at the top here. And then I'm just going to take it down the sides a bit further. Then I've got an aqua painter which I've got some water in, and I'm just going to flick the water onto the background. And what I want is for that then to give the effect that it's snowing. So I'm going to set that to the side for a second just to dry, and it'll bring out these drops a bit more. And while that's drying, I've got a piece of snowy white velvet sheet here, and this is the same width as this piece, and it's 2¼ inches high. And I'm just going to cut that into a bit of a kind of snowy hill type thing. So then that will sit across the bottom there. And then the other thing that I've got here, I've cut out this die from the die set that I showed you in both basic white and evening evergreen. And I'm going to use the evening evergreen piece, but then I'm going to use the inlays from the white so I can pop those in like that. So I'm going to put those on my heel in just a second when this is dried. I think that's actually dry enough now, so let's pop that on our card. And then we'll pop this on top. I think the texture of this velvet sheet means that it makes really, really good snow. I'm just doing that along the bottom of the panel. I'm going to glue this on. And then I'm going to glue these pieces in. So then I just cut some of these little stars with this die in gold foil sheet. So I'm just going to pop one of those on top of my Christmas tree. And then I'm just going to heat emboss the joy that we used for the last card onto this scrap of Misty Moonlight cardstock. I'm going to do that in gold this time. Then I'm just going to pop a dimensional behind here. I'm just going to pop this down here. Now I think actually I'm going to add the other 4 stars on as well. I'm just going to have them as stars in the sky. So then this is our second card finished. So then for my next card I'm going to use this stamp here, and I'll use these dots as well. So I've got my Evening Evergreen and Polished Pink inks. So this is a basic white A6 card blank. This piece of paper from our paper pack is 1/4 of an inch smaller, and then this piece is 2 1/4 by 4 inches. So then I'm just going to stamp the tree in the Evening Evergreen ink. And then I'm going to stamp this over the top with the polished pink ink. And I'm going to cut out some of these presents to go under the tree. So then I'm going to heat emboss this Let Your Heart Be Light sentiment in white embossing powder onto this Blushing Bride cardstock. So I'm just going to cut a flag end onto this. I've obviously got a bit of a feeling for flag ends today. So then let's just glue all our pieces together. Originally I was going to glue that one on and pop these ones up, but I've decided actually that I want to glue these ones on and pop that one up, so just changing that around a little bit. I'm just going to add a couple of dimensionals to the back of this. And then that's our third card completed. So then for our fourth card, I've got a DL card blank in, or it's roughly DL, in Misty Moonlight. So that is 7 3/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches, scored and folded in half. Then this piece is 3 1/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches, and this piece is 3 inches by 8 1/4 inches. And what I want to do on this piece is just use that bauble stamp. So then I'm just going to take my Evening Evergreen ink and I'm just going to stamp this all the way along here. And I'm just creating a bit of depth by putting them at different levels. Now I'm going to use the Let Your Heart Be Light sentiment again. I'm just going to stamp that at the bottom here. Then I've got Polished Pink, Misty Moonlight and Mint Macaron Stampin' blends, and I'm just going to use those to colour this. So I'm going to layer those up. I actually just used the light shade of each of the colours when I was just colouring that in. And I'm just going to use these gold metallic pearls. And I'm just going to add one of those at the top of each of the decorations, just because I think it just adds a little something, makes it a little bit more special. So here's my fourth card completed. And for my final card, I've got an Evening Evergreen A6 card blank. And this is 5 3/4 by 3 1/4. This is 5 1/2 by 3. And this is 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. So for this one, I'm just going to stamp this in the Evening Evergreen. And I've stamped it towards the bottom of that piece. And that's because I'm going to use this gorgeous shimmer ribbon to create a big bow for the top of the tree. I'm just going to tie that into a bow. I always try to tie it like on the roll, because then you don't waste too much. You just cut it off where you need. So I'm kind of creating this quite big standout bow. And then I've just got a piece of Evening Evergreen cardstock here, and I'm just going to heat emboss that Joy in gold embossing powder on it. And then I'm just going to layer everything up. Now I'm just going to use one of my glue dots just to add this. I always think the glue dots hold the ribbon better than glue. And then I'm just going to put a dimensional under here, in fact maybe 2. And then I'm going to put some of the gold metallic pearls on as well. So I wanted a really statementy bow, but now I'm not sure if I've gone a bit too big. Let me know in the comments below whether you think you would keep it this way or maybe swap for a smaller bow. So that's our final card finished. So there's all of today's cards. I'd love to know which is your favourite. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's projects, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future projects. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got new videos available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there'll also be a host code there, so if you pop the host code into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.